Reddit is a place built around communities. Millions of people gather every day to talk about movies, video games, sports, and just about every hobby imaginable. But not all communities are built around harmless hobbies or interests. Some are built for predators looking for sympathy. And other corners of the website become a last resort for people desperately begging strangers to help them when no one else will listen. The deeper you go into Reddit, the more you realize that some of its communities aren't just strange, they're horrifying. Today, we're diving into some horrifying corners of Reddit, and viewer discretion is advised. This one gets disturbing. And make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. r/convicted individual support. And that's not the name of the subreddit, but it's S offender support. I just can't say it, but you get what I'm saying, and let's get into it. Reddit can be a dangerous place for someone to share their thoughts, feelings, and even opinions. Look at places like r/politics or r/am I the asshole, or really any subreddit, and you'll find hundreds of heated arguments. One post can lead to users berating each other, name calling, and so far as judging one another's character. It's like once someone types in Reddit on their web browser, they feel no need to hold back anymore. But I recently came across one community that by far is the most insane. It's one called r/offender support. It's for people who have been convicted of predatory offenses that landed them on the registry for those such crimes. To keep it simple for the rest of the story, I'll refer to them as convicted individuals. The first thing that you may be thinking is that it seems insane. It sounds like a bunch of people who have done awful things and want somewhere they can complain about their consequences. And honestly, that was also my first thought. One of the first things I come across is a pinned post by one of the moderators that gives an introduction to what exactly the subreddit is, and more importantly, what its purpose is. The post is titled, "For the Curious, the Lurkers, and the Trolls." The post is pretty long, but the gist is in the goals they list, which are: number 1, to offer support in navigating being on the registry; number 2, to listen. It is never okay to minimize or excuse having committed a crime that harmed another person. It is not tolerated here. But we do understand that the road to rebuilding your life after having served your time for an offense is often made virtually impossible to do so. Number 3, to share and provide information about how to find housing and employment. Number 4, to try to answer questions about the multitude of ever-changing laws and rules surrounding registry restrictions. Number 5, to provide resources that will lower the chance of reconviction. Number 6, we will not offer legal advice but can sometimes explain certain legal processes that are confusing. Number 7, to offer support and encouragement for spouses and family members who are trying to navigate this system with a loved one. Number 8, to share information in the hope that it will help others avoid committing a crime. And number 8, to promote change and healing. So far, it feels reassuring that it doesn't seem like the group's members have intentions of bypassing the severity of their crimes that they're talking about. But then I read more of the post. It says, "Now you read all of that. And if you still feel the need to come here and tell a woman she deserves to be violently hurt and graphically describe horrible things you want to happen to her children because she loves someone who got a BJ from his younger girlfriend in the backseat of his car the day after he turned 17 when he was in high school 15 years ago, or you want to tell an autistic 20-year-old who got caught in something predatory that he was confused by to begin with to go commit S-word himself, then go for it. Get it all out of your system. Then look in the mirror. See that? That person is a monster. For everyone else, welcome. We're here for you. And actually, you know what? trolls, we're here for you too, because you wouldn't be here spewing violence and hate if you were okay. Now that feels harsh. I mean, this subreddit is dedicated to talking about people who committed some of the most serious and heinous crimes someone can commit. So it feels a little hypocritical to call an innocent outsider a monster when you yourself are one. Of course, it's not okay to send death threats like the ones they mentioned, but that rant gives the impression that they treat all of these convicted individuals like they accidentally walked onto the registry or something. And any assumption that maybe most of them are actually just guilty is criticism that they chalk up to harassment and bullying. But it's not just this one moderator. It looks to be a running theme. There's some debate on it, but many others feel similar. One user asked this question: how many people are actually offenders? And many replies are pretty surprising, to say the least. If everyone were caught for everything they have done, especially as teenagers, and considering the breadth of the criminal law, I would wager most everyone would be a convicted individual of some stripe. I would argue most people have committed some sort of offense in their lifetime. I'm not saying everyone is a perv, but how many men do you know that have dated a significantly younger woman or went to the bathroom in public? These, among others, don't really answer the OP's question. Rather, they just take it and use it as somewhere they can put their frustrations about the system. And the amount that these types of comments are repeated is honestly concerning. Because in reality, statistics show that the type of cases they are talking about are much more of a minority than they are letting on. The United States Sentencing Committee states that 98% of people were convicted for terrible, violent, and disgusting crimes, most of which I cannot name here. Only 2% was because of something other than that, like maybe, quote, using the bathroom in public. Which does not give the impression that everybody would be a convicted individual, but that actually most people are rightfully placed on that list because they're downright dangerous. But let's take a look at some of the users on here to see if they should or shouldn't be placed in that category. This is one post from November of 2025. First time post, part of my story. It reads, I wrote a lot before mentioning it and don't know where to put it, but I'm 21, turning 22 soon. I guess I should start with my childhood, I'm not sure. I think this started when I was introduced to adult content in the 4th grade. I wasn't necessarily attracted to it, but as I got older, around mid-teenage years, I became severely depressed. I attribute this to my household growing up. Very chaotic, and it called for me to be constantly hypervigilant. Extremely stressful. Anyways, I guess that's really when it started. Eventually, I tried to emulate some things I saw in videos, which probably forced some warped connection / lack of boundaries, risky behavior, close calls, and I never learned or cared to. Depression has never left me. It's only gotten worse, and I've only grown more comfortable with it. Adult content, aside from cannabis, was a coping mechanism. The guilt, shame, fear, and embarrassment that came from these acts just made it worse. It's creating a terrible cycle of shame, pleasure, and shame. Along with my depression, I'd say I only became more depraved. I'll skip to it now, where I'm being charged with indecent exposure because I was taking pictures of women and periodically, confusing maybe, exposing myself in a Walmart of all places. Both things I picked up from adult content. I guess I should say that it wasn't my intention to flash anyone. I honestly don't believe I did. Walmart theft prevention probably made the call. Apparently there's footage. I spent the rest of that day in jail. I have my second court date on the 17th where I think I will take my plea. To pick up where I left off, I think one of the worst parts is the confusion of my guilt. Is it just because I've been caught? Or am I actually remorseful? I hope it's the former. But the most painful and the biggest source of my shame is the people in my life I'm going to disappoint. The people I love the most. I feel like a monster. Not like it's new. That's part of the deep shame I feel. But it's the center of my attention. All the times I numb myself to stomach what I'm capable of is catching up to me. I feel unredeemable, condemned. My education, future career, love life, and life in general is all at risk, and I feel trapped. I'm terrified, so helpless and utterly hopeless. I want to wake up from this nightmare. And this user got one thing right. He needs help, but what he did is nowhere near excusable. Whether or not he's remorseful, which he's not even sure about, is besides the point. These crimes were not victimless. There were women involved who will likely be scarred forever. They are not walking away unscathed. So sure, the registry creates problems. This user will have a hard time finding a job, dating, and gaining his family's trust back. These are just called consequences. It's what happens when someone does something bad, something that hurts other people. And even though moderators seem to want everyone to give these users the benefit of the doubt, it's a little hard to in a situation like this. Who accidentally stumbles into a Walmart and gets naked in the bread aisle? That's widely known as a pretty disgusting thing to do, and people who think they can get away with it should also get in trouble for it. But other users don't really care to get OP to take any accountability because they all feel the same way. And it's not just people that have been convicted themselves. There are family members on here as well. Someone posts, admission of guilt. Is it possible for an admission of guilt to not be used in a trial somehow? My husband was high the night he was arrested and taken into custody and questioned. He was scared and thought his best option was to essentially say, yeah, sure, whatever, I did it. Because he wasn't trying to get locked up for years upon years. He didn't realize at the time what he was facing. Now it's all coming back to bite him. His public defender says there is no legal leg to stand to file a motion to exclude his admission, but they could argue it to a jury. His issue is he doesn't trust a jury. The only evidence is testimony. An expert on the subject and his statements to police. No eyewitnesses, no physical evidence, nothing. Edit to add, my husband was questioned for a while, unsure exactly how long, denying the entire time, but ultimately he felt like he had no other choice. He knew they weren't going to give up and that no one would believe him. He knows what he did by admitting was stupid. It's like they're desperate for help for all the wrong reasons. Because in the comments, she explains that it's not like her husband admitted to something like peeing in public, but actually it was for exploiting an ex-girlfriend's kid. Instead of taking into consideration the weight of an accusation like that, she says that because he was using cannabis, he mistakenly admitted it. What she hasn't considered is that maybe it just actually happened. And maybe we should be focused on getting help for the victim. And with things like these, it feels obvious that they should be convicted. The public has a right to know which people around them have done horrific things like this, to give the public an opportunity to stay away from offenders. But even still, the general consensus here is that there should not be a public registry, even with a case of a genuine predator. A man by the name of Matteo Condalucci became a convicted individual after he'd done unspeakable things to his daughter for years and years. But what are users on this subreddit most concerned about? The fact that he was murdered by someone named James Fairbanks, a resident of Omaha, who had stumbled upon Mateo when searching the registry of an area he was planning on moving to. He fell into a rabbit hole of researching him and what he had done, even going as far as passing the offender's house. And when doing so, James described him as, quote, pretending to wash his truck while staring at a group of kids playing in the street. James had also noticed a playground in the offender's backyard, and with all of the details put together, it was too much for him to bear. He became obsessed with him. He couldn't eat or sleep. He couldn't think about anything else other than who Mateo may hurt next. James said, quote, I couldn't, in good condition, allow him to do it to anyone else while I had the means to stop him. Which led to a post on the convicted individual subreddit titled, This is terrifying. People wonder why we don't want public registries. And it's filled with comments like, quote, this angers and disgusts me that something like this has happened and how casual he is about committing murder. I hope he gets the death penalty. No remorse. First damn comment, it's about a defense fund. We are the only country that I know of that has a public registry. All others that have registries are only available to the police officers. The best thing we can do as a country, if we still need a registry, is to have them only available to police officers and no housing restrictions. The housing restrictions don't do anything, or they make things worse. So the murderer of someone as evil, predatory, and dangerous as Matteo Condalusi should die, but they're acting as if the monster himself is innocent. Make it make sense. Cases like Matteo are honestly the perfect examples of why there should be public registries. What about all of his neighbors who have kids that might play near his house? What if he comes across as the sweet old man across the street and no one thinks anything of his friendliness until it's too late? I'm not saying he should be murdered, but I think it's absurd to say his crimes should be hidden. And of course, not all convicted individuals are like this. There are plenty of posts on here that showcase examples of people that haven't committed something so egregious, or users that started behaving in ways when they were young and never got the help they need. And the shame and guilt they feel is just crippling. But that doesn't take away from the culture on this subreddit, which is honestly pretty disgusting. It's one thing to want change, to want a system that better helps people, that prevents terrible things from happening instead of just punishing people and giving them no chance of rehabilitation. But to ask to have the whole registry removed feels gross and predatory in itself. To demand something like that just feels so minimizing to the victims of such horrendous crimes like the ones of Mateo. Because ultimately, they are the most important person in all of this. They have been harmed the most. And whether the registry should be removed or made private is irrelevant until the day that we figure out how to prevent the crimes, the hurt, and all of that harm from happening in the first place. And this subreddit truly ranks among some of the top most disturbing, disgusting, and just downright horrifying subreddits I have ever gone through. Daryl Pratt. In November of 2015, the video game industry was met with a new force. IGN, one of the leading media outlets for all video game news, hired a brand new writer, Alana Pierce. Alana is from Queensland, Australia, where she began her journalism career in 2012. She worked for a couple of small companies, as well as news and TV stations, until deciding to relocate in 2015. It was around this time that her career really started to take off. It was also at this point that she started to create content on YouTube And as time went on, she gained more followers. More people were interested in what she had to say, and people became dedicated fans. This can be seen across her multiple channels, social media accounts, and even a subreddit dedicated to her, r/Alana Pierce. Users post interviews, updates, and discussions about her work. It's pretty normal stuff, which is why, when one post seems a little off, it becomes very noticeable. Which is exactly what happened on June 25th, 2019, when a user by the name of Daryl Pratt made a post that just said, "What's up, boo?" That's it. No other context. No pictures, no video, no other comments. It's very out of place for the subreddit. No other users make any post remotely like that on this page. And that isn't the only post made by the user on r/Alana Pierce. There's one more from the same day, just 2 hours earlier. All this one says is, "Hey." It's just odd. But what becomes concerning are the comments. How are you not banned at this point? "So, you're back, huh? I hope you're doing better, man. And good to know you're alive. And at this point, I hope you're just joking and not actually obsessed with her again." These users are commenting on the end of a long and treacherous road that Daryl Pratt has gone down. These last two posts were the last anyone ever heard from him, but it was an exhausting journey to get there. So let's start at the beginning. The first time Alana Pierce got unwelcome attention from the internet was shortly after she began a relationship with voice actor Blaine Gibson. As she was living her life and continuing with her normal content, she received this comment on one of her YouTube videos. "Wow, what a surprise. She has a boyfriend? But for real, what is it with the females and their need to constantly be in a relationship? Like, why can't they be single for at least a month? I watched all your videos since the beginning. I hope I can meet you one day and we could have something great, but no, you had to go and settle with that first douchebag that walked in front of you. I bet he doesn't even tell you how beautiful and freaking hot you are every day. I bet he didn't even care about you until you opened up to him. I'm so tired of every single woman I like having a relationship. That's it. I'm so done." This comment got popular on r/Nice Guys for good reason. Clearly, someone can't get a girlfriend. And Alana just replied back, "I was single for over 2 years before dating Blaine." But nice guys don't stop. And as a woman in the public eye, Alana continued to get these kinds of comments, specifically from one account under the name of Bruce Wayne. He used a picture of a penguin for the profile picture, and over time, Alana started to see these penguins everywhere. He was not one of a kind. She had these types of fans often. People that would leave tons of comments and send messages that were just too much. Usually nice, but over the top. And the more they came in, the more overwhelmed she would get. Her approach in the past would be to politely ask them to stop. Not that they had to stop watching her videos, but to cool it a little, which is completely reasonable. But every time she would do that, they would freak out. The rejection shattered their ego, and with that kind of blow, they became angry. Now, they hated her. They dedicated their entire account to trying to ruin her career. The comments would switch from praise to criticism. Her every move was still being watched, but now from an enemy instead of a fan. So, with someone like Bruce Wayne, Alana wanted to try something different. She started to slowly block him on different social media accounts, depending on which ones he was most active on. But this gentle approach quickly came to a halt after she got some work done on her eyebrows. something called microblading. Just a simple cosmetic thing that tons of women do every day. But Bruce Wayne, he hated it.
But he ended up going on IGN videos, which is the company that I work for, and if people would say something nice about me, he would reply to them and be like, she got her eyebrows tattooed. Basically, he was incredibly angry that someone he had put on an unrealistic pedestal had done something to themselves that he didn't like. And that was the point where I was
This
like,
was the beginning of Daryl Pratt. The first post ever made to his Reddit account is titled, "Can I get in trouble for sending a girl love letters?" Unfortunately, this post was removed by Redditors and I'm not able to find it archived anywhere else, but I can get a good idea of how insane this post was just from the comments alone. Someone says, "It may not be illegal by the letter of the law, but it's not really okay. You should stop. You were blocked on social media. That's an indication that this woman does not want to have contact with you. Even though you said nice things, she doesn't want those comments. She likely finds you weird and creepy. I would strongly recommend that you stop sending letters, stop contacting her, and seek professional help. You probably would get a restraining order or no contact order if you continue. Not a lawyer, not legal advice." And this is fantastic advice, but Daryl Pratt does not listen. He instead replies with, "I didn't know she didn't want those comments. She banned me without even a warning. I just wanted her to know how amazing she is. I would do anything just to be friends with her online. I like sending her letters just so she knows how cool she is. I don't see why this is wrong." And users are now hoping that this is just a troll. Someone who saw what happened with Alana and is playing a prank. Because otherwise, this person is teetering on the edge of danger. Which, from his next couple of comments, he seems to be leaning in one direction. And it's not the one any of us, or especially Alana, want to see. He says, "Thanks for the advice, but I think I'm going to keep sending letters for now. If she tells me to stop, I'll stop, of course. The guy in the movie The Notebook sent like 365 letters to that girl. I feel like if I send them for long enough, she will realize how much I care about her, and maybe she'll be friends with me then. I'm not a troll. I've been following her on social media for over a year, before she even worked at IGN. I've invested a lot of my feelings into her, and now she blocks me. I want her to like me so bad and don't know what else to do. I mean, I don't know how else to make her like me. I thought about making a new account with a different name and following her with that one and pretend to be someone else and hopefully leave comments that she will like. But I would much rather her like me, not a fake account." He just doesn't stop. He makes another post asking again if making multiple accounts will get him in trouble, instead of listening to any of the comments telling him why and how he should get help. About a month passes, and there's no word from Daryl. But also, for him, still no communication with Alana. Each day that passes is agony for him. He's heartbroken, lost, confused. So he makes another post, hoping this time someone will give him the answer he's looking for. "Me, 18 male, need help making up with my friend, 21 female. I haven't talked to her in about 3 weeks." It's truly baffling, and in some ways, very sad, how much this person believes that he and Alana have some kind of relationship. At one point, he says that he lives in Kentucky and she lives in California, so they'll probably never meet. But that doesn't stop his delusions. In his mind, they're best friends. His comments to her are them talking, and her blocking him is like a breakup. He's grieving the loss of her, which still is not her problem. None of this. No matter what he is struggling with or what led him to behave like this, Alana doesn't deserve all this harassment while she's just trying to work. But I don't know that Daryl ever saw it that way. He was only ever focused on his pain, on how this affected him. Meanwhile, he was flipping Alana's life upside down.
He sent letters to my workplace. He also said that he was planning to call the front desk at IGN and have them transfer to me to the phone on my desk, so we got rid of the phone on my desk, so that wasn't an option. And there was also a threat regarding E3 that year in 2016, so I had two just giant, terrifying looking security guards walking around with me for the entirety of last year's E3, just to make sure that nothing weird happened. So
but these things didn't matter to him. The only thing that eventually got him to back off was when users told him that Alana had a boyfriend, which she did. They weren't lying. And Daryl did not take this well. It was like his whole world came crashing down. His dreams, his hopes, everything he had worked towards was crushed. Honestly, it's pretty surprising that he gave up when finding this out. Given his history, he seems like the kind of person who would have persisted. And he did, in a way. Just not directly. Instead of sending countless letters and begging her, he moved to a different tactic: manipulation. He made her feel like his life was in her hands. These comments have since been deleted, but Alana shared them in her video.
Humiliating for me. So then, amidst all of this stuff about me having a boyfriend, he said, "How would you feel if your girlfriend found someone else she likes more than you? That's how I feel." And then the last two comments are, "I'll most likely be dead tonight, so that should make her extremely happy, and then fuck this world." And then he didn't use the account again.
She was rightfully extremely upset. Not only had she been thrown through the ringer the last couple of months, watching her back and fearing for her life constantly, but now she felt the weight of someone's life on her shoulders. She mentions in her video that she understands where this mentality comes from. Like Daryl mentioned in his comment about The Notebook. So many shows and movies have characters that chase endlessly after women, no matter how far they run, but by the end of the story, they end up getting married and living happily ever after. But that's not how real life works. But Alana suspects that's where Daryl learned that behaving like this is not only okay, but the way to win her heart. When really, it just tormented her and left her distraught. She has no idea what happened to him after those comments. She thinks that he has made a few other accounts where he continues to talk to her, but nothing has ever been that intense again where she feels like she needs to put up a boundary again. Of course, I don't hope that he was being truthful in his last comments and actually died that night. I hope that he finally came to his senses and got the help he needs. And I do hope that was the end of it all. Even if Alana stopped getting harassed, it's possible he moved on to another woman and stalked them instead. People have found a few accounts that they suspect is him, but nothing is proven, and either way, no other profile has caused as much trouble as Daryl Pratt has. And hopefully, it stays that way. Internet user 1998. One of the most entertaining subreddits on Reddit is one called r/whatisthisthing. With almost 3 million weekly visitors, there's tons of users every day who post pictures of random or obscure looking objects that everyone investigates. Each post is like a puzzle, and it's a race to see who figures it out first. It's usually something wholesome or just not that exciting. In fact, it's even pretty anticlimactic sometimes. Someone comes in anxious and worried that some small device or substance found in their teenager's room is a drug, and that their child is in extreme danger, and the comments then reassure them it's nothing, and everyone moves on with their day. So when something pops up that actually looks concerning, people stop. They really investigate, looking into every possible explanation, hoping it's not what they think. One post made on July 12, 2017 by internet user 1998 became one of these. It became so serious that the moderators actually removed the post because they felt like the OP needed to get actual help from law enforcement and not from other Redditors. The title of the post reads, "I think I'm being watched. Is this a camera?" And I wish we could see the picture that was attached, but like I said, it was removed. But the users that did see it not only confirmed that it is in fact a camera, but that the OP might be in danger. Because not only was this object deceivingly a camera disguised as a pen, but it was hidden in a very private space, somewhere where no one should be watching. The bathroom. Worse than that, we come to find out that OP is 16 years old. They give more context here. The post reads, "Okay, I'll write a full update / life story now. My parents died in 2013, sending my brother and me to foster care. For the past 3 to 4 years, I've lived with this guy and his dad who have done some awful / creepy shit. It would feel wrong to exclude the fact that he supported my brother and me for so long, but this is unacceptable. A week ago, my brother moved out, leaving me with this guy who just put a camera facing the shower this morning. I posted this thread on my work break. Now I'm off work at home after talking with him about it. I don't want to live here anymore. I haven't for a while, but I have no one that will take me in at 16. I've built the last 3 years of my life living here. I have no idea what to do. I've tried calling CPS before and they came and left. That can't happen again. I'm pretty much alone in this house with no one to talk to or help me. What am I supposed to do?" Some people suggested they go to an Office Depot or Staples and confirm that it's a camera, which the OP did. The employees there agreed it most certainly was. So now it was real. The OP could be in real danger. The first thought is to call the police or CPS, but like they said, the thought of contacting them again and them leaving was terrifying. They say, maybe because I don't want to be left alone with a deranged perv who's mad that CPS was called. So the user is stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Either way, it feels like they're backed into a corner with a monster. One solution is given by user Japanese Knotweed, who comments and says, "Where are you? You need to go to the actual CPS office in person. Take the camera pen with you. Bring a change of clothes and anything small, transportable, and precious. Everything you need to be reasonably comfortable for a few days, and just go. Sit down in the waiting area and say, I don't feel safe going back to the house until I know what this is and what's on it. Then don't get up until an option you feel good about shows up. There are short-term respite foster care providers in most areas, and this is one of the ways they can be of great help." Their only reply to this by OP was, "I called CPS for a different reason earlier this year, in a sort of way that would make it look like someone else called. They wanted to talk to me and ask every question right in front of the dude. Saying I'd like to talk to them in private didn't look too good. Well, I told them every messed up thing he's done the past few years, and especially what happened earlier that week, and I'm pretty sure they just saw me as a dramatic lying teen. Then they left." It makes sense why the user has no trust in CPS. The system has repeatedly failed them, pretty miserably. So much so that their first instinct, and really the only option in their mind, is to ask Reddit, which is just heartbreaking. She's just a kid. She should be able to trust the people who are supposed to keep her safe. But instead, they made her feel like she was too much. And now she's forced to live in this fear. Eventually, the user does give in and gives CPS one last try, even though she has low expectations. The user wrote, "Update, CPS has been called. I have a place I can stay at if they take me when they come. Now I play the waiting game. I'll update when they come." Although the OP has never updated us. They only left one last comment. That's the only reason I was hesitant to call in the first place. I've done it before, and they just left. I can only hope. It's a terrifying cliffhanger to leave us on, but that's all there is. Whether or not CPS actually helped her, if she could find a safe space to stay, or if her creep of a foster parent ended up keeping custody of her, we'll never know. Like internet user 1998 said herself, we can only hope.